ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
Welcome into this Friday, September 8th edition. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We're going to get your texts in this hour. We'll do so at 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. We got high school football to get into tonight. It is a football Friday night. The Ashland Tomcats are in action, taking on Bardstown. We'll hear from Dickie Martin in a few minutes. Also, we've got Saturday football action. Spring Valley on the road. Cabell Midland and Ironton playing in a neutral location game. This is going to be a unique situation. They're going to be at Jones C. Edwards Stadium. So while the Herd's on the road tomorrow at ECU playing, Jones C. Edwards Stadium is going to be rocking two fantastic fan bases in high school football. The Cabell Midland Knights, the Ironton Fighting Tigers, all of that's going to be happening tomorrow at Jones C. Edwards Stadium. Should be cool to see. And, of course, we're going to have video streaming of that, and you can listen to the game on the radio as well. You can tune in to the Cabell Midland Knights on 97.9 The River. And you can also tune in to the Thundering Herd tomorrow. Kickoff is coming up at 4 o'clock on Saturday. We'll have the game. We get things underway at 1 o'clock. We're going to be at 20th Street, Geno's 20th Street, for another edition of college football today to get things kicked off. So we hope you can invite all your friends to come down and see the game on the multiple screens they have there. And, of course, come down for all the pizza specials. We've got a fun show planned for you tomorrow. I think you're going to be excited. But let's get this weekend started off right. It is your Friday night kickoff, and it's time to kick off the Thundering Herd, getting set for ECU. The Marshall Thundering Herd kicked off their 2023 season with a hard-fought come-from-behind victory last Saturday, securing a 21-17 win over Albany in front of 25,101 fans. Unlike the usual blowout victories over FCS opponents, Marshall found itself facing a formidable challenge. Despite a slow start, Marshall's head coach, Charles Huff, gained valuable insights about his team's capabilities.
We should have been able to have a little bit more consistency, but the things we found out really have helped us understand who we are, who can do what. Some guys only have a certain play rep count right now, and they can't get, once they get past a certain amount of plays, their minds start to spin too fast. So all of those things. Obviously, I get it from the fan perspective. They showed up, and that was phenomenal. Probably the biggest crowd since I've been here. Really good job. I know that they want to see the scoreboard lit up. Awesome. I agree. I want to see wins. My expectation is to win. Their expectation is to show up, and they did. And we won. So it's a great Marshall day. Now, did we win in flying color fashion? Half the teams in the country would trade places. Trust me. Ask the team that played last night. Love to trade places with the 1-0 barely victory. So, but don't get me wrong, I'm not overshadowing the fact that we got a lot of work to do. We do have a lot of work to do, we have a lot to improve on, but I'm not going to make our guys feel like we lost the game because we didn't play up to the standards of Vegas, Thundercast predictions, or whatever else that may be.
Today, the Thundering Herd will face off against their former Conference USA rival, East Carolina. The Pirates hold an 11-5 record against the Thundering Herd, including a memorable 42-38 win in 2021. They overcame a 21-point fourth-quarter deficit against the Herd, capped off by a 1-yard touchdown run by Rajah Harris with 55 seconds remaining in the game, sealing an improbable comeback win where ECU trailed 38-21 entering into the fourth quarter. When asked about the rivalry, Marshall defensive end Owen Porter acknowledges it, but more importantly, wants that win back.
I mean, I'm sure it is. We won our look back for sure from the last game. I believe we were up 38-21, right? Something like that. We're up 17 points, and they ended up coming back and beating us. Trent talks about it all the time. But, yeah, we got a little pep in our step to get this one back this time.
East Carolina plays a tough physical brand of football and brings back several key pieces from last year's offense. One notable obstacle Marshall faces this week is the need to prepare for not one, but two quarterbacks, Mason Garcia and Alex Flynn.
Last year, they were one of the top offenses in the country. This year, they returned some of those pieces. The quarterback, is doing a really good job for them. Mason Garcia. They're playing two guys right now, so they're both having some success. We're preparing for both of them. Very similar in styles, different from last year, or different from last week's guy. They're a little bit more stand in the pocket, strong arm, athletic, more of the Tebow body, if that would make sense, more of the 6'4", 6'5", 240-pound guy with a really strong arm. That can run, not necessarily a scrambler or a guy that's going to pull it and go 60, but a guy that can pull it down, step up in the pocket and get 6 and lean into a guy for a first down. So we're preparing for both. The backup, Alex Flynn, a little bit shorter, but still a bigger, stockier guy with a really strong arm. The one thing you see from this unit offensively is their offensive system is in place. The system they run is really consistent. Even when you look at last year to this year, their play design and what they're trying to do, areas they're trying to attack the field, is really consistent. So they do a really good job there.
Marshall linebacker Owen Porter said despite the loss to Michigan, this is a good football team that Marshall will be facing today.
We lost a lot of guys last year. We have a 5-year starter at quarterback, something a little over 13,000 yards, 4 different wide receivers. Same offensive coordinator, though, so it'll be the same game plan. They're a good football team all the way around. I don't think the score against Michigan really shows they played good. The score maybe just didn't look that way. So they're a good football team. We're excited.
On the defensive end of the ball, East Carolina presents a formidable challenge as they play with an aggressive and fast-paced style. Coach Huff acknowledges the difficulty posed by the ECU defense.
They're going to pressure, stunt, move often. They try to create a lot of confusion up front, try to create a lot of edges. Their guys are aggressive, they're fast.
Marshall wide receiver DeMarcus Harris says he will need to stay alert because of the different looks designed to confuse an offense.
They do a lot of movement in the back end that confuses even me as a receiver. So watching the film, studying it, I'm sure we'll have a good game plan for it.
Marshall center Trent Holler sees a lot of veteran leadership and chemistry from familiar faces from his playing time at ECU.
They've been playing together since, I was there as their teammate, so they have a lot of chemistry. They've built the guys up since they've been there, and, they've played pretty good. They play gap sound. That whole defense is pretty good. So, they kind of just feed off each other and they use a lot of energy.
This game has been described as a friendly rivalry due to the connection these two programs share with the victims of the 1970 Marshall plane crash, a fact that will be on display today in the honoring of former Marshall football coach Red Dawson. But Coach Huff has reasons why he doesn't want the game to be just about that.
Yeah, we did a little bit of a preview of it that last week at camp when we went out to the cemetery, and we kind of gave a little prelude when we named Coach Red honorary captain. We kind of explained the situation about this week. For us, we're going to try to keep the focus on we got to go down and execute really well. No disrespect to the events and the people involved in that. I think they're going to honor Coach Red at halftime. Him and his wife are going to be there. But I wanted to make sure we handled that separately from game week because I wanted those guys to accept that, hear that. They gave Coach Red a round of applause and he spoke to the team for a little bit. But this week I wanted to be about execution. We got a lot to get cleaned up. And now we know who we are. We got to go really reestablish our identity.
Coming up next on this edition of The Drive, I'll have a conversation with the voice of the Ashland Tomcats, Dickie Martin. Still to come, we'll hear from Jason Toy and Matt Perry. High school football Friday night across the tri-state here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Working Man Store in Huntington. Check out the biggest inventory of scrubs in West Virginia, featuring brands such as Jockey, Dickies, Wink, and Cherokee at the best price. Working Man Store has one of the largest selections of big and tall shirts, jackets, and jeans in the area. Working Man Store is the king of blue jeans with Levi's, Dickies, Carhartt, Lee, and Wranglers in sizes up to 72. And Working Man Store has the best selection of men's work boots and casual shoes anywhere at the best price. Working Man Store, open every day at 140 5th Avenue or online at workingmanstore.com.
Hey, Tri-State. Frank's Place, formerly Sinners and Saints Bar, is under new ownership. Stop on by and check out Happy Hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and other daily specials. If you're a sports fan, they have what you need coming up from the NCAA tournament, Major League Baseball to the XFL. And listen up. If you're a first responder, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Have you tried everything to lose weight with no success? Want to try Ozempic or Wegovy but can't find it anywhere? If that's the case, you need Bluegrass Strip Wellness and Aesthetics in Ashland right now. At Bluegrass Strip, their medical staff will tailor a program that will serve your specific weight loss goals. The best part? You can start losing weight with compounded semaglutide today. Don't wait for New Year, New Me. Find Bluegrass Strip on Facebook and Instagram. Bluegrass DRYP and start losing weight today with Bluegrass Strip Wellness and Aesthetics in Ashland.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the Tri-State. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kitty Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Meet Bruce.
Hey there.
He's a busy soccer dad who's trying hard to learn the game.
Go for the end zone.
Whoops. Luckily, other things come easy, like banking with Chase. On a tip from his banker, he set up AutoSave in the Chase mobile app. So what are you saving for, Bruce?
Father-daughter soccer camp.
Smart bankers, convenient tools. One bank with the power of both. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
AutoSave requires a Chase checking and savings account. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
Serving my country required sacrifice. Sacrifice that changed my life forever. I remember the day I came home. Because of my injuries, this house wasn't right for me anymore. I remember the narrow doorways, the small bathrooms, the shelves out of reach when in my wheelchair. Every day was full of obstacles. I felt trapped. I remember a better day, the day my family received a specially adapted custom home from Homes for Our Troops. That day changed everything. Now we have a safe and accessible home to enjoy the freedom I fought for. This place, our home, is exactly what we needed to rebuild our lives.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with dachshund breeding.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words. Playing world music. What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
I want to welcome to the program now the voice of the Ashland Tomcats, Dickie Martin. Last week, the Ashland Tomcats ventured into West Virginia and beat George Washington 42-21. The Tomcats improved to 3-0, and in that contest, LeBryant Strader, 13 of 22 for 237 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then on top of that, he was 13 for 57 on the ground, had 2 touchdowns. The Tomcats outgained George Washington 434-277. And Dickie, this was a 7-point game with 8 minutes and 54 seconds to go in the third quarter, and then the Tomcats just shut it down.
We did. We shut them out in the fourth quarter. They made some adjustments on us in the third quarter, and we weren't able to score, and that got them within 7. And they had the ball, and we're going down the field, but our defense finally rose to the occasion, and we got a couple of stops. We got an interception from Braxton Jennings, and then we got a fumble recovery from Braxton Jennings, and we stopped them a couple of times and put a couple of scores on the board. And so it, quite honestly, Paul, is a closer game than the score indicates, but we were able to coast in for a 3-touchdown win. It was a good win for us. Hate to see this series come to an end, but they're good people. They got a good football program, got a good football team. And I know their record doesn't show it, and it probably won't show it for another couple of 3 weeks. But they can put points on the board. They got some problems on defense, but they've got Hurricane and Huntington High. They started off with Cabell Midland and Ashland, so they got a very, very difficult schedule. But if they can, just get by these first 4 games, I think GW is going to be just fine.
Let's talk about that series just for a second. It seemed like it was becoming a really nice series, but unfortunately, the realities of West Virginia school, Kentucky school, you've got to maintain a certain level in Kentucky as far as wins, games that count. And so George Washington, unfortunately, the victim of paperwork.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, and that's exactly what's happened. So we got this silly RPI rating system over here that's not very good, being quite honest with you, but that's what the state decided on, so that's what we got to go with, and that's what we'll go with. So we've had to jump Ohio schools and West Virginia schools, and it's tough for us to find people to play in Kentucky because, well, it just is. We've got a good football program, always have, and we, just a couple of years ago won a state championship, so that's why we're going to Bardstown tonight. It's a long drive.
Let's talk about Bardstown. They are 1-2. Their losses are against Cooper, 35-14, and they were at Taylor County. They suffered a 34-3 loss there. Those were their first 2 games. And they get the win against Thomas Nelson last week, 52-0. Right. What kind of teams are Cooper and Taylor County, and then compare them to Thomas Nelson?
Thomas Nelson is a team. They're a very small school there in Nelson County. That just started a football program not too long ago. So they're just building, and quite honestly, I'll tell you, they're not very good. So that's where we are with Thomas Nelson. Cooper usually has a pretty good football team. Taylor County's got some athletes. They're not bad. But I think up to this point, our schedule far outweighs theirs, and we will be the best football team, I think, that they played up to this point.
When you look at them, what's the challenge? I know you look at a team like this and you think, okay, Ashland should definitely have the advantage here, but we know how that goes on a given Friday night or a Saturday night. So, what surprises you or what impresses you when you look at this team?
They've got one guy that basically does it all, Paul. His name is Williams. He wears number 3. Not very big, probably 5'5", 5'6". But he runs the ball about 70% of the time of their rushing plays. And then they'll put him in the Wildcat, and he'll run the ball or attempt to pass it. And sometimes they put him in a wide out, and he'll go out and catch the ball. So if you can find him and keep him contained, you should have a pretty good chance of winning the football game. He's not they've got some other players, but nothing like this kid. And he's tough. He's small. He's got really good speed. And so we got you can almost say Bardstown's a one-man team. I don't think they are, but if you can find him, he's their offense. He does it all.
Dickie Martin's with us. He's the voice of the Ashland Tomcats. We're going to have that game for you tonight on our sister station. It's Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. We're talking about Ashland's matchup with Bardstown this week. Last week getting the 42-21 victory over George Washington. When you look at some of the scores that you've seen over the last few days, and you can attribute why a 52-0 against Thomas Nelson for Bardstown. You can probably attribute that to being a small school, as you just mentioned here. But you've seen some of the teams that put up some really crazy scores in West Virginia, and
my goodness,
you know what I'm talking about here as far as Huntington High, Hurricane, some of the other schools.
Hurricane,
yeah. From someone who covers high school football, follows it from an outside perspective, from Kentucky, what are you seeing that's maybe people are overreacting to, and what's wrong with what's happening?
Well, I know Coach Seals at Huntington High. I don't know the coach at Hurricane. I do know about their program. I mean, from what I understand, Hurricane got 22 transfers in this year. That's what I understand. Huntington High is playing with their own. For once, they're able to keep their own players. And Huntington High's got great, great, great talent. Coach Seals is a fine football coach and a fine man. And I think, from what I understand and from what I hear, he did everything in his power to keep the score down. It was from what I heard, the starters played maybe a quarter, and you put your JVs and your threes and your fours in there and your freshmen and stuff, and you can't tell them not to score, not to play hard, and not to make good tackles and go after the interception and things of that nature. So I don't blame Coach Seals at all. I don't blame Huntington High. And when people say, and I've heard this for years, when people say, well, you all got all these transfers and you got this and you got that. And I just tell them, you know what? You guys got to get better. That's your problem. You guys got to get better. And I think that's the bottom line when Huntington High or Hurricane or Ashland or Ironton or whoever beats a team 50 points, it's time for the other team to get better. That's all I can tell you.
How's the system different for those maybe that don't follow Kentucky as closely as maybe the majority of our listeners are, probably West Virginia based, but for those that follow, West Virginia more than Kentucky, what's the system like in Kentucky that maybe because we still see scores like this, as we just mentioned, 52-0 against Thomas Nelson. It happens a lot. Now, some of it is you're facing off against schools that are smaller, are still in your classification, but that doesn't mean that they have the kids that are coming out. And then some of these other programs have had, a few years ago, they had the numbers to compete at the high level, and now they might be a high-level school, but they just don't have the kids because of the transfer rule here, at least in West Virginia, that's maybe depleted some of these rosters. What's it like in Kentucky where we still see these crazy scores, but we don't see this movement of players as much, or do we?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think if it's true that Hurricane has 22 transfers, no, you're not going to see anything like that in Kentucky. But a team that's in Ashland's class, Corbin, this year, they got 4 transfers from Somerset High School, a nearby high school, 2 of which have already signed with Michigan and another with Penn State. So these guys can play, and we're going to have to face them somewhere down the line. You've got Boyle County down there around Danville and just outside of Lexington. They go over and they raid the city school Danville. That's why Danville's not as good as they normally are. Boyle County went over and raided got 4 or 5 players from them. So something's got to be done in high school sports to stop all these transfers. And are they legal transfers? Well, I guess, according to the high school athletic associations in Kentucky and West Virginia, I guess they are. And same thing in Ohio. Same thing happens at Ironton or a school in Cincinnati or Columbus or whatever the case may be. Something's got to give pretty soon, or it's just going to be turning into college recruiting. And, you come over here, little Jimmy, and you're going to start at the halfback or you're going to start at forward or whatever the case may be. It's not as bad as in Kentucky as it is in West Virginia, because West Virginia, they basically opened the floodgates and said, okay, you can transfer anywhere you want to for 1 year. Nothing's going to be said. I don't know how you can get by with that. I swear to goodness, I don't know how you can get by with that, Paul.
I think the problem here is in theory, you're giving kids opportunities to go elsewhere. In practice, we're seeing a high school version, possibly, and this isn't all schools, but a high school version of the transfer portal. And high school, high school, it's going to be really interesting to see what the repercussions are. And honestly, if we didn't have multiple scores like this on Friday night last week, we might not be talking about it like this. And of course, each case is different. I might sound like I'm defending Billy Seals, but again, Billy tried to do everything he could to not run that score up and still play the game. Other than just taking a knee, you can't tell your team to take a knee. People did not come to the game to just watch their kids take a knee. And they ran the clock when they could in the fourth. They shortened the quarters. Yeah, so some situations are different, but I was kind of curious, just what the take is as far as how Kentucky differs from West Virginia, what Kentucky does better, because there's a lot of football being played in Kentucky. Very, very big state when it comes to high school football. So I know some of this stuff has to happen.
Oh, yeah, and it does. I mean, not only here in eastern Kentucky, and you can go down into the mountains and get with Pikeville and Belfry, and they get transfers in each and every year. And then you can go to Lexington where it's wide open. Lexington's mostly like the whole state of West Virginia. It really doesn't matter where you live in the Fayette County area in Lexington. You can go to about any school you want to. They don't really have districts, so to speak. And Louisville is, Louisville's kind of like the same way, except that Louisville is bordered by Indiana and Ohio, so they can go across the river, in Ohio, the Ohio River. And the team that we faced last year, Christian Academy, in the state semifinals, they had players from Indiana and they had one from Ohio. So, and I know that's a private school and it's governed differently, but nevertheless, they're transfers. and we don't, here in eastern Kentucky, if you're an Ashland, Raceland, or Russell, or Greenup, or East or West Carter, we don't have that ability to go over there and, cross over the border and go to Huntington High and say, hey, little Jimmy and Johnny, come over here and play for us. It's not as bad as it is in West Virginia. I just didn't understand the High School Athletic Association there in West Virginia just opening the floodgates and letting everybody transfer wherever they want for, one time.
Well, the legislature,
doesn't make sense.
The state legislature had a lot to do with that as well. So you can thank lawmakers for that one, Dickie.
Okay, well,
we'll blame them as well.
That's the problem. They need to keep, honestly, Paul, they need to keep their nose out of it. They're state legislatures. They don't govern high school athletics. You have an athletic association there in West Virginia, much like you do in Kentucky. And I know it happens all over the country. State legislatures get their nose into it. Well, then why do you have a high school athletic association? If you're going to say, okay, it's okay to do this and to do that, but not do this and not do that. Keep your nose out of high school athletics and take care of the taxes and the road conditions and all that kind of stuff. That's what you're sent to Charleston or Frankfort to do. Do your job.
Dickie Martin, he'll be doing his job tonight. He'll be calling the Ashland Tomcats, taking on Bardstown. That's going to be on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. Next week, we'll be talking about hopefully a 4-0 Ashland Tomcats squad and a big matchup against Russell. That's next week.
Right.
But we got Bardstown tonight. I'll be listening. Hopefully, it's going to be a fun game for you and a victory for the Tomcats.
Well, I hope so, because we're driving a heck of a long way, by golly. I'll tell you that. 175 or 80 miles one way. So it's a 3-hour trip, and we hope we can come back with a win. I don't want to go down there for nothing, I can tell you that. We got to win the football game, get better.
Plan appropriately. Go ahead. Make sure you have snacks in your bag. Plan appropriately.
Yes, I got you.
Dickie Martin, my guest. Thanks, buddy. We appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
More coming up on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Stuck in a state of falling behind, struggling to keep up with kids, finances, insurance, and life? Well, let your State Farm agent help you simplify and get to a better state. With State Farm handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time to handle everything else. More money, too. Adding State Farm policies can earn discounts that could add up to 40%. Help you get ahead. Call an agent today and get to a better state with State Farm. In Huntington, Ray Crabtree, 304-736-8181. In Lavalette, Jason Elkins, 304-529-7555. And in Charleston, Lisa Godwin, 304-984-0000. Gran Turismo in Michelin. Keep your dreams in motion with Labor Day savings between August 23rd and September 12th. Get up to $110 total savings via reward card or virtual prepaid card after online submission with the purchase of 4 select Michelin passenger or light truck tires. $70 tire rebate on all tire lines, plus $40 bonus rebate on Michelin Cross Climate 2 tires only. Gran Turismo, based on a true story, exclusively in theaters. Call TikTok Tire today to take advantage of the savings. TikTok Tire, 2102 3rd Avenue, Huntington. See www.michelinman.com/auto/deals, promotions, and rebates for complete details.
sale. Offer expires 9/12/23. Void where prohibited.
Metro Community Federal Credit Union has been serving the Huntington community for 70 years and is proud to announce our newest location in Lavalette. We look forward to bringing the residents of Wayne County a modern banking facility, a full range of services, advanced technology, expert financial advice, community involvement, and even a smart coffee kiosk cafe. Learn more about Metro Community Federal Credit Union online at metrocommunityfcu.com. Equal housing lender. Member NCUA.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Rust-Oleum's Stops Rust 5-in-1 spray paint is the first ever adjustable spray paint can. Choose from 5 different spray settings so you can get a professional finish on every project. A can is just $6.49 each after 11% rebate. Good through September 10th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
This is Coach Charles Huff, head football coach of your Thundering Herd.
And he is drilled. Was it Owen Porter? Yes, it is. He flew in like Superman from behind and drilled Poffenbarger. The season is in full swing now, and believe it or not, it's time to make your plans for Homecoming 2023. It's coming up September 30th against Old Dominion. Don't miss out.
The time is now. We need for you to be right there with us in the zone. Get your tickets at herdzone.com.
Oh, hi. Do you know what this is the sound of? It's the sound of me getting rewarded for doing my part to prevent wildfires. See, right now I'm getting a big, remarkably heartfelt bear hug from Smokey Bear. Thanks, big guy. And now we're shaking. Okay. First, I made sure there were no low-hanging branches when I set up my campfire. Hey, Smokey, let me down for just a second. I need to make sure everyone can hear this. There we go. Then, when we were packing up to leave, I drowned out my campfire, stirred it, drowned it out again, and then made sure to feel it if it was cold. Oh, Smokey Bear really loves it when you do that, don't you, Smokey? Oh, he lets his hugs do the talking. Visit SmokeyBear.com to learn tips to prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Let's welcome to the program now Jason Toy, will have the call of Cabell Midland versus Ironton. This game's going to be on Saturday, and it's going to be at a special place in the Tri-State, Joan C. Edwards Stadium. When's the last time we ever saw a high school football game at Joan C. Edwards Stadium?
Never. This is the very first time. First time.
This is a 2-year deal. How'd this come about for those who maybe don't remember or didn't know? Why? Because I got a call the other day. Hey, why are they playing at the Marshall Stadium? I got that call. You might have got it as well.
Well, I talked to talking to Coach Sammons, and that was one of my first questions I asked him about it in our pregame interview was, how did this all come together? And it was something that, and he was frankly honest. It was Midland's had a hard time, just like every other team around here in AAA, and that eventually be 4A next year, of trying to find that 10th game. They only had 9 on the schedule. They have been talking to Ironton in the past about trying to get things worked out. They had things lined up and worked out for it, and now they're able to get it together. And then they talked to somebody said, Marshall, because they're not on the road. They're on the road. Stadium's going to be open. And I guess everybody approached Christian Spears, the athletic director, over with Marshall on it, and kind of set the stage for it. He's like, yeah, why not? Let's go for it. I think it's a really good thing. The stadium's only used, 5 or 6 times a year for football games for Marshall, maybe a weekend for the Turf Bowl, the Marshall Marathon finish line, and a band competition. So it's good to be able to utilize that stadium for more things like this. And this is the first time a high school football game will be played in there, which is going to be really, really cool. And it's a perfect neutral site, and that was the thing. It was a good neutral site for both teams to meet up at, and it's you build a nice theme around it with a border battle, and it's a 2-year deal. They're going to do it this year and next year, and I'm teams aside, I'm excited about the fact that, we got a high school game and let these kids have an opportunity to play on a big setting in a big stadium with a big screen, big screen video board and everything else to go along with it. And it's just going to be a great atmosphere.
Ironton's a designated home team for this one. And then next year it'll be Cabell Midland designated home team. So the two sides will flip. They'll get the chance to be in the big locker room at least once each year, as far as the Marshall locker room, the big locker room. So how's that working?
I thought maybe that, this is going to be kind of cool. You guys using the Marshall locker rooms and stuff like that. Actually, Midland is going to use the indoor facility. They just want to use that.
They're going to use the indoor facility, okay.
Yeah, and I believe Ironton is going to use the visiting locker room.
Okay.
So, talking to Coach Sammons about it, he's like, we just want to use that. It's something, they could spread out a little bit on. It's away from everything, and I'll be able to do that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so I kind of thought the thrill of actually sitting in that Marshall locker room might, be appealing.
Being the first time, I think, they don't want to have to move all the stuff out of the lockers and do all that. And, the visiting locker room's empty because it's emptied out after each game and cleaned out. And I think, and then doing it over on the other side, too. I heard somebody brought up a good idea. If this is good, if this works out well, how nice would it be when they do more construction on the other end zone, like they're talking about doing, putting Sky Suites in or whatever, if they were able to build out and put like 2 more locker rooms over there, and you can do things like this, or you could host maybe a back-to-back game night, type thing, or you could try to go for a state championship type thing. So
multiple locker rooms always
I think
help.
This is a good first run.
I like it. And of course, you mentioned all the cool things that are happening with the new scoreboard and everything. And I'm curious to see how exciting it's going to be atmosphere-wise with the video presentation, because correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is it's going to be video presentation that's going to be based on the game. It's not, not going to be that generic Marshall branding, or it's going to make it generic.
Yep, it's going to be that. And actually, our Kindred Digital Sports is doing the game, and actually we're providing the video for the board, which is going to be kind of cool. So they're going to Marshall's the production folks there are going to be we're going to take our feed from it and use that video part of it. And I'm sure they'll put the placard up there of the border battle of both teams. And because it truly it is a neutral site. Granted, it's in West Virginia, and Cabell Midland's the West Virginia team, but this is a neutral site game. And you got such a huge tradition in football with Ironton. It dates back 100 years in football. And Midland continues to build their traditions up. Coach Sammons has been there many, many years now, but he's kind of rebuilt things in the aspect that they, into a championship caliber team year in and year out. And it's just a lot of pageantry, I think, will go along with it. It's going to be really cool. The bands will be performing. Midland Band, which is 11-time state champions, they're going to be performing too, which is going to be fun. And I think if the rain holds off, which, there's a chance it might rain, but I think we're going to have a fantastic crowd there for the game. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
The Ironton Band, the $1 Million Band.
Yes.
So they'll both be performing. That's going to be cool.
May have a rumble, right? A little battle of the bands going on between the two.
I recently saw Drumline again, so I'm down for that, actually.
You're down with that?
Yeah, I'm completely down with that. Good movie, by the way, if you've never seen Drumline. It's a great look at college athletics as far as the band concerned. Have you seen Drumline?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Been a while.
It was a long while, and I saw it again. I'm looking at all the actors who have gotten a lot older since, and I'm like,
like Nick Cannon?
Like Nick Cannon, Exactly.
One of my favorite shows, Wild and Out. I love watching that.
Oh, yeah. I would watch that a many a nights when I'm in a hotel room somewhere. Like if I was traveling somewhere and they only had like 7 channels and like VH1's one of them.
Yeah.
And there it is.
It's always there.
Always there.
Always there.
Jason Toy's with me. He's got the call of Cabell Midland and Ironton that's coming up tomorrow at Jones C. Edwards Stadium. Both teams undefeated, so one team will go home unhappy. Should be a great crowd from both Ironton and Cabell Midland fan bases. What do you see from this matchup? What do you like?
I think you look at it for Ironton. They have got offensively, they can throw it, they can run it, they've got speed. They always have great offensive lines to make things happen. So Midland's defense is solid through the middle. They've been tested deep on the pass, so they have really got to be on their toes when it comes to things with the Ironton offense, because they will spread it out and they will power ball too as well. So they've got talent all over that field. For Ironton. So Midland will have to be defensively, continue to get pressure up the middle, but they got to protect the outsides. They can't allow Ironton to get outside or go deep. I think on the other side of that too, for Cabell Midland, they've got an offense that is explosive. Last week against Spring Valley, over almost 500 yards of offense. They had a lot of stuff called back because of the mistakes. They had penalties or they had fumbles or things like that. If they can nip the mistakes that they had in that game against Spring Valley, control emotions in this game, I think it's going to be a very, very good contest between both sides of the football. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch the talent on the field. We've seen there's Division I talent for Midland. There's obviously Division I talent for Ironton that's going to be showcased out there. And I just think this is and I thought Coach Salmon said it perfectly. This is great. This is great for both teams. It's fantastic. You're going to have great quality opponents on both sides of the football. But for the community, this is really, really big. This is really cool because it's going to bring the communities together. And, Ironton and the folks in the Southeast Ohio and West Virginia are going to be able to come together and have a fun time at the football field coming your way tomorrow night.
We'll have it for you, video stream, of course, as well, but you can listen to it on the radio. We always push the radio. 97.9 The River. Jason Toy will have the call. I will see you soon. Thanks, buddy. Coming up next is the voice of the Huntington Highlanders, Christian Palmer. The Highlanders off this week, but a lot of controversy about last week's victory. And I know a lot of high scores across the state. I think Huntington's been getting singled out maybe unfairly in this mess because of the fact that, one, they're really not full of kids that have transferred in, and two, Billy Seals tried his very best to make sure that game clock ran as much as possible, as fast as possible, and he took the starters out early in that game.
Yeah, I don't really think that you can blame Huntington too much for the game, Paul, and you hit on a few things there. They condensed the second half to just 12 minutes, and usually that's your time for a quarter. So they had a 6-minute third quarter, a 6-minute fourth quarter, and a rolling clock in the fourth quarter. So the fourth quarter was really just like, 5 or so plays, it seemed like, flew by. And yeah, Huntington, the game just started off, kick return for a touchdown. They have their kickoff. That kickoff is fumbled. Next play, they score again. So 3 plays in, they were already up 14-0. And, midway through the first quarter, the starting offense was out. Backup quarterback was in. And, it got to 86-0. It was an ugly game. But when you have those backups on the team who are at practice every day, you got to give those guys some time to shine, and you want them to be ready in case you need them.
Second half, no one scored, so Billy Seals, again, trying to make sure that he finished the game as fast as we possibly could within the rules. At the same time, try not to show those kids up. And both coaches, to their credit, went and talked to each other afterwards or at halftime. They settled that. It wasn't one of those where, no, we're going to continue this and just blow you out. Nobody benefited from it at this point. Now, across the state, we've seen crazy scores, and there's a lot of conversation. Being in one of those games, what do you think about now the renewed focus on how West Virginia handles the transfer rule, which, again, Huntington really hasn't taken advantage of?
No, they really have not. And one player that a lot of people are singling out, and, I think that it doesn't hurt that this is one of Huntington's very best players, Wayne Harris, who actually had his birthday last Friday night, scored a couple of touchdowns on his birthday, so that was a nice present for him. He played his first 2 years in high school at South Charleston. However, he is originally from Huntington, so, moved back to where he grew up. So not at all like most of the instances where kids are transferring halfway across the state just for football. He was moving back to where he was from. And, to kind of, give a further answer on my thoughts on all of this, I don't like it. I don't like people transferring all around. I was never good enough to have this problem whenever I was playing, but I was always of the mindset like, man, I would just hate to leave all of my friends and school, the place that I've been at my, whole life, just to, maybe get a couple of more looks at this school. Maybe I'm going to get 2 more wins and 3 more touchdowns. I don't like it at all. And we've seen it across the state. And, in today's high school football landscape in West Virginia, there are some very, very strong teams and some very, very poor teams. And, I about said not too long ago, it's starting to get long ago. I was in high school, about a decade ago, and there were some teams that were down then. We had a couple of big blowout wins, but most Friday nights, they were close games, certainly not 86-point differentials.
Christian Palmer joining us. He again covers Huntington High for us here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Joining us now with a preview of Saturday action is Matt Perry, Spring Valley 0-2 at Jefferson 1-1. This is the first time in a long time that I've said Spring Valley at 0-2, and Matt now joins us to give us a preview of tomorrow's matchup. You can listen to on our sister station, 92.7 and 98.5 The Planet. Matt, when's the last time Spring Valley was 0-2? Is the answer never?
It's been a very long time. I've been covering Spring Valley for Kindred for 7 years and off and on before that for nearly a decade, and I've never seen an 0-2 start. Or at least to my recollection, I've never seen an 0-2 start.
What do you attribute just the schedule being a little tougher than usual for a young team? What do you attribute this to?
A perfect storm. When we talked 2 weeks ago about Spring Valley and Huntington, you were facing, it was a reloading team versus a rebuilding team. Coach Brad Dingus and everybody with the Spring Valley football program has made no secret that they are young, they are rebuilding, they are trying to get these young men in the correct positions to win football games. And when you start off the season with your two biggest rivals, and one of them being the reigning and defending state champions, you're behind the eight ball right off the bat. They played much better last week against Cabell Midland. It was a hard-fought game that Midland came away with. But Spring Valley showed a lot of promise last week after a blowout loss to Huntington. But we've seen what Huntington is capable of, so maybe that wasn't as bad as we first initially thought.
This week, the challenge is Jefferson. As I mentioned, they're 1-1, but Jefferson, no disrespect to the program, definitely not Cabell Midland, definitely not Huntington. Is this the week that maybe Spring Valley gets on the winning side and starts to get a roll going?
Well, with a young team, this can be used at any level of football, whether you're talking about the NFL, college, or high school. Every week is a crapshoot. Usually with a veteran team, you know what to expect week in and week out. This young team, they're taking their longest road trip of their lives to play a football game. Mike and I are, in the middle of that trip. I'm in Flintstone, Maryland right now, trying to get to Shenandoah Junction, West Virginia. And so it's about a 6.5-hour drive from Huntington. These kids are leaving school early on Friday. They are going on a bus, stay the night in a hotel, and then tomorrow afternoon they have to be ready to play a ball game against a team that they know very little about. Jefferson and Spring Valley have met one time previous, was in the playoffs last year, and Spring Valley is still smarting from that upset loss to Jefferson. So I would like to think, as a Spring Valley, as someone that follows Spring Valley, that this could be the week that they get in the W column, but there's so many unknowns that we're just going to have to wait till 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon.
The game again will be on our sister station, 92.7 and 98.5 The Planet. Matt Perry's with us. Mike Myers will join him on the broadcast tomorrow. We'll also hopefully be talking here in the next few weeks about a resurgent Spring Valley team, because I can't accept 0-3. I've never in my lifetime remembered a time when Spring Valley started off the season 0-3. I mean, there have been stretches where there have been some struggles, but at the same time, this is not what I'm used to when it comes to Timberwolves football. But the good news here is you play Cabell Midland, you play Huntington, two of the best teams in the state of West Virginia. You come out of those games, I think you have an opportunity to win probably a good portion of the rest of your games, and that's not trying to sugarcoat this here.
No, you're not trying to sugarcoat it, and it is what it is. Next week they have to play Hurricane. Again, that's a team that just scored 90 points in a football game. Now, their competition wasn't necessarily the strongest, but Hurricane is a powerhouse. They've made themselves a powerhouse over the last couple of years. They've taken advantage of some transfers that have come into their school. And so Spring Valley, if they lose on Saturday afternoon, there is a real possibility that you could be looking at 0-4. And Spring Valley has not been 0-3 nor 0-4 for about 15 years. It was before Brad Dingus took over as the head football coach of Spring Valley. The good news for Spring Valley supporters and for the program is that when this Murderer's Row is finished, they get some very winnable games, quite frankly. They play South Charleston, and this is in no particular order. They play South Charleston, Capital, Riverside, St. Albans, teams that realistically Spring Valley could get to 5 or 6 wins and find themselves in the playoffs.
Matt Perry joins me. The game tomorrow, it's a Saturday contest. Matt's going to be missing the Marshall game, but that's okay. If you want to watch the Marshall game and keep your ear on Spring Valley, you can do so on our sister station. That is really easy to find. It's on 92.7 and 98.5 The Planet. Matt Perry will be joined by Mike Myers. That's going to be our game tomorrow. Matt, safe travels. We'll hear from you tomorrow, and let's hope that we bring back a Spring Valley win.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me as always.
More coming up on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Hey, Tri-State. Frank's Place, formerly Sinners in Saints Bar, is under new ownership. Stop on by and check out happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and other daily specials. If you're a sports fan, they have what you need coming up from the NCAA tournament, Major League Baseball to the XFL. And listen up. If you're a first responder, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Now is the time to add on a new bathroom or remodel your old one with the latest up-to-date bathroom fixtures from Mutual Wholesalers, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Come in today to Mutual Wholesalers' beautiful showroom and see how your new bathroom will look. Check out Acre by Max. Have a new bathroom this year. Mutual Wholesalers, locally owned and operated, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Call 304-525-9118.
Glockner's annual Ultimate Tailgate event is here, and you can make the buy of the year with special event savings and Glockner's lowest live market prices on the season's best inventory. We make it easy to shop because we never inflate our prices in hopes of winning a negotiating contest. No tricks, games, or hidden fees. Plus, get a cash offer for your trade above current market value in less than 15 minutes during the Ultimate Tailgate event.
We make it easy at Glockner.com.
Okay. Next time you're at the store, I dare you to not think about the unmistakable fresh, clean scent of Irish Spring. Yeah, you heard me. I want you to resist picturing a shower filled with those sensational Irish Spring suds. And if you succeed, well, you got what my gramps used to call resolutitude. Not a real word, but let's be honest, you're probably going to end up leaving with Irish Spring because of its irresistible scent and because you have zero resolutitude. Pick up Irish Spring today.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're wrapping up today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We're less than a day away. Marshall taking on ECU. We're going to have that game for you. Kickoff is set for 4 o'clock. We go on the air 3 hours early with college football today. I'll be at Gina Bonnie's 20th Street. Looking forward to seeing you there tomorrow. And don't forget, after the game, stick around. We have our post-game report where if Marshall wins or loses, you'll find out about all of the reactions from everyone, how well the herd does or how well they didn't. You'll find out about it because definitely we get a lot of calls and a lot of text on the game. I hope you can be a part of that. That's all tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. I want to thank my guest. First and foremost, I want to thank Dickie Martin, the voice of the Ashland Tomcats. Jason Toy will have the call of the Cabell Midland Knights tomorrow. Also, Matthew Perry, he's got the Spring Valley game tomorrow. And Christian Palmer, who calls Huntington High, he's off tonight. He's off tonight. I'll be with him. I'll be with Woody Woodrum. We're all going to be at Giovanni's 20th Street tomorrow. Looking forward to it. And that's going to do it for this edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Have a great night, everyone.